Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Study course with me, your host and instructor for the online class in all things botanical medicine. If you would like to be the first on your blog to know most of what is available in terms of practice, science, and application of botanical medicine, clink below, and clink is my word. It's a combo word for click and link, and you will be directed to a form which has another link after you fill it out to download the introductory video and handouts. A special thanks to new subscribers and all of you who comment, like, and share these videos. It really does help to spread the word. Well, we're well into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere where I live. It is sunny, warm, and great outdoor weather. Because it is sunny, people are out and about, and in some cases, participating in water sports or just lounging about in the sun, which means suntans, and it means for others, sunburns. So in the spirit of summer, we're going to explore another helpful first aid herb for the lumps, bumps, scrapes, and sunburns of summer, aloe vera. Now, the botanical name of aloe vera is Aloe barbadensis Miller. And I have no idea, maybe Miller discovered this, I have no idea. But it belongs to the Liliaceae family, the lily family, and is a shrubby perennial. It's xerophytic, which means it does really well in dry areas. It's succulent, and you can see it's a little pea green colored plant. It grows mainly in dry regions of Africa, Asia, Europe, and America. Now, in India, it's found in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu. Aloe vera has been used for medicinal purposes in several cultures for thousands and thousands of years. Greece, Egypt, India, Mexico, Japan, China, and China. Now, the Egyptian queens Nefertiti and Cleopatra used aloe vera as part of their regular beauty regimes, and Alexander the Great and Christopher Columbus used aloe to treat soldiers' wounds. Now, the first reference to aloe vera in English was a translation by John Goodyew in AD 1655 of the famous Greek herbal Dioscorides de Materia Medica. By the early 1800s, aloe vera was in use as a laxative in the United States, but in the mid-1930s, a turning point occurred in the use of aloe vera in the US because it was found that it treated chronic and severe radiation dermatitis, which is a rash. And this was probably from those original X-ray machines, as well as using radiation for the treatment of cancer. So I think that's kind of interesting and tragic all at the same time. Now, the parts used of the plant is the gel inside the leaves. I think this is a really cool picture. It almost looks like it's fake, or something like that. But the gel, and they're called fillets, that's what they're called. And the gel can be used internally, but most commonly it's used externally. And the leaves are very fibrous and very bitter, but also can be taken internally. And I only recommend doing this through powdered forms of capsules. There's a lot of glass-like fibers in the leaves and could do some weird things to your tongue as well as your digestive system. So definitely don't gnaw on that. Take it in powder form. Now, one of the more popular ways to take aloe vera internally is with aloe juice. And I personally think it's a little bit tasteless by itself. It might have a little bit of a bitter taste, but it's very cooling on its own. And it's usually flavored with various things. And aloe vera juice helps to clear up skin issues from the inside out, and it relieves constipation, and it can also relieve heartburn. Now, if you take aloe vera juice, and every time there's a product behind something, they will say this is good for everything from cellulite to cancer. And you need to take that with a huge grain of Celtic sea salt. But if you take a small amount, maybe like a couple ounces a day, you can put that in your smoothies or in a large glass of water, but it will actually boost your intake of certain vitamins and minerals. It'll help your body absorb them. But if you drink too much of this, it can cause cramping and diarrhea. And it's also very much contraindicated in pregnant and breastfeeding women. Now, aloe vera juice is an excellent source of vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, beta carotene, folic acid, calcium, and magnesium. So it's a wonderful, wonderful plant. Now, the medicinal actions of aloe vera, and these are both internal and external use. It's a purgative laxative. It's an analgesic, which means it relieves pain, antibacterial, antiviral. It's an anti-inflammatory. That's why it's really good externally for injuries. It helps with the digestive system, basically helps get things moving. It enhances your immune system, mainly because it's so rich in vitamins and minerals. It's also obviously an antioxidant because of those vitamins. It's emollient, which means it softens things. It's a vulnerary, which means it heals wounds, both internally and externally. It's a demulcent, which means it's like a moistening agent. It's a vermifuge. There's another wonderful word for your Scrabble game. Vermifuge is something that gets rid of parasites. And basically it does this by cleaning out the colon. There's nothing in the colon when you really do a lot of aloe vera. And it's called an emmenagogue, which is another wonderful Scrabble word. And this is something that brings on the period. Now, do not use internally if pregnant or nursing. If you're pregnant and you want to keep the child, you're going to miscarry. If you're nursing, it will affect your child's digestive system in ways that you're not going to enjoy. And I also want to caution using this if you live in a state that has recently outlawed medical procedures. This is not the way to go about that medical procedure. It's very dangerous to do that. So it's good for acne, burns, wounds, upset stomachs. It's a laxative. It's good for psoriasis, diabetes, constipation, stomach ulcers. It also, studies say that it protects against liver, bone, and spleen tumors. I don't know what they did to rats to figure that out, but they know that. It's good for a herpes outbreak, both internally and externally. And it does help with irritable bowel syndrome, but you need to make sure you know what you're doing. Like, don't take that if you have IBS. Ask your physician or your acupuncturist or your Ayurvedic physician about that. And it's also good for irregular periods. It helps bring them more regularly. And topically, it's wonderful for sunburns. It's good for psoriasis. As I said before, it's really good for dandruff, skin scrapes and bruises. And the Chinese use it externally for anal fissures. But I'm sure whatever your background is, it will help those anal fissures. Now, there are many constituents in aloe, and some of them are on the slide in front of you. Aloe emodin, alocin, acermanin, emodin, barbaloin, all of these interesting things. And these are the ones that make it so unbelievably healing to the skin if applied externally. And again, it's got vitamins, enzymes, minerals. It does have some sugars in it. And another thing called an anthraquinone. So there's 12 different anthraquinones in aloe vera. And these are the things that make it so purgative. It's a purgative laxative. It has fatty acids. And it gives 20 of the 22 human required amino acids and 7 of the 8 essential amino acids. So you can see why the product people think you should be drinking tons of this all the time. Now, in Chinese medicine, it's called Li Hu, and it is taken in powder form. You can also take the gel externally, but as I said before, if you go to the Chinese herbal stores, it will be sold to you as dried leaves or the dried gel, which kind of looks like dark Himalayan or volcanic salts. And it clears heat. It's very cold. It clears heat. It cools the liver. It's a purgative. It drains fire. It helps accumulations in the skin come out. And it also kills parasites and it strengthens the stomach. But you really need to be under the guidance of an acupuncturist to make sure you don't blow out your stomach if your stomach is weak. This needs to be balanced with other things in a good formula. And the Chinese use it for dizziness, headaches, ringing in the ear, which is tinnitus, irritability, constipation, all sorts of things. So now in Ayurvedic medicine, it's called Grit Kurmati. I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. I apologize. And if you go to the Ayurvedic doctor or herb store, you will be given this herb in a powdered form, and you also can get it in the juice form. And what's interesting about this in terms of Ayurvedic medicine, it balances all 3 doshas, and it's used to aid skin, hair, and digestive systems. And it also is used to enhance female reproductive system. Now, there are cautions with this, and you need to know that. So with anything you use externally, even if the whole earth is using it with no problem, I guarantee you there's always someone that has a horrible reaction to the slightest thing. So if you're a highly allergic person, you need to make sure that you do a skin test, do a little dab of aloe vera, gel on your forearm and see if you break out in massive hives. If you don't, go for it. And also with young children, you need to do a little patch test to make sure it doesn't aggravate them. Now, internally, it's very cold and it can cause abdominal cramps and diarrhea. And it also has the capacity to become abused for people with eating disorders that want to purge themselves all the time. And if you use too much of this specifically for a laxative purposes, it can actually make your colon forget what it's supposed to be doing. So be careful. And again, this is contraindicated in pregnancy and breastfeeding. It really is, because it can cause miscarriages and it can also cause a lot of distress in infants that are being breastfed, because whatever the mom eats or takes as a drug or an herb, it gets passed to the infant. Now, growing aloe vera is really lovely. And I'm, spent most of my life in Southern California. So, most, especially drought tolerant gardens in California have an aloe vera plant in it. And you can also grow it indoors in terracotta terracotta pots. There you go. And it's very easy to grow. It's very hardy. If you kill it, there's something wrong with you, or you're over some sort of massive nuclear waste dump or a massive pesticide spill or petroleum or something. It's very hardy. And it doesn't need a lot of watering, but it does require some special care. And I've given you a link in the program notes that gives you everything you need to know about growing it outdoors if you live in a warm, dry climate, or indoors, and it doesn't matter where you live. So however you wish to use this wonderful herb, if you want to use it as a first aid remedy for sunburns, if you want it in your garden or drinking the juice to aid for various issues, aloe vera is a wonderful ally from the plant world. So this is Stephanie Georgia saying thanks again for sharing your valuable time with me. Link below if you would like a free introductory lesson from the online course. And until next time, be well.